Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here and welcome back to the railway. I spend a lot of time on this channel talking about Britain's wonderful and successful locomotives, and there's certainly lots of those, but today I'm going to talk about some engines that could be considered failures. Right, unsuccessful locomotives then, and the first one is a bit controversial. You might not agree with this one, so you'll have to let me know what you think, but I'm going to make my case. So, unsuccessful engine number one is this, the Great Western Rail Motor. And this thing was introduced in 1903 to the design of George Jackson Churchward. And of course Churchward was well known for being a legendary locomotive designer. If you'd like to learn more about him and his engines, I'll pop a link up here. But nevertheless, these rail motors had issues, and I argue that they made this a pretty flawed design, even though actually almost 100 of these were built in total. The basic idea for the rail motor was that it would be a combination of passenger coach and tank engine to create a locomotive-less train that was highly efficient. And they were considered successful early on, but there were things that didn't go too well, meaning they never caught on in a huge way. Firstly, they had limited capacity. Having a steam locomotive on board meant less space for passengers, which meant the rail motors just couldn't deliver the capacity required during busy periods. Additional trailers were created to be hauled by the rail motors, but the steam engines on board were so tiny and they weren't powerful enough to haul very much at all. In fact, it's said that the rail motors would have to frequently stop on gradients in order to build up enough steam to continue. There are also problems with incorporating a steam locomotive into a passenger coach like this. The coach couldn't be used while the locomotive was undergoing maintenance, and it was extremely difficult to keep the passenger compartments clean given the filthy nature of the steam locomotive operating right next to them. I do think that the rail motor idea was a fantastic and innovative one, but sadly it never did catch on in a big way, and the rail motors were just rebuilt into regular auto coaches, which would be hauled by an external locomotive. And for this reason, I argue that the rail motors were not the resounding success that the rest of Churchward's designs were. The next locomotive was introduced the following year, and it was also designed by George Jackson Churchward, who I promise really was a legendary locomotive designer. I guess he was probably just having a bad couple of years. But the rail motor was a little bit hit and miss. Maybe you could argue that that was a success. This next one though was a bit of a bodge, unfortunately, and it is this. It is the Great Western County Class. Now, most successful Great Western locomotives, even during Churchward's time, were 460 locomotives, as you well know. But as you can see, this one is a 440. It's got two fewer driving wheels. And while 440s were not unheard of on the Great Western Railway, they certainly were not the norm. The 440 wheel configuration came about for the counties because the Hereford to Shrewsbury line had expressly forbidden the use of 460 locomotives. So the county was designed as a 440, but with similar capabilities. Predictably, this just didn't work very well. Every component of the county design was sound, but together they just didn't work. They were rough riders because of their short wheelbase and huge piston stroke, and a massive amount of weight was supported by just 4 driving wheels, when really there should have been 6 or more. And heavy balance weights on the wheels produced 8 tons of hammer blow. That really is going to take its toll on everything, including the track. So ultimately this design was deemed a flop, and the class was withdrawn in the 1930s, much earlier than they would have been if they'd been successful. They would also be the final new-built Great Western 440 locomotives. Besides some rebuilds, this wheel configuration was never attempted again for the Great Western, which I think speaks volumes. So yeah, the second black mark on Churchward's record. But I think we need to move on away from Churchward and the Great Western. The next loco has a bit of a mixed reputation. Plenty of people argue that there was nothing wrong with these at all and they've just got an unfairly bad reputation. Others say, yeah, they were rubbish, it's a good job they were all scrapped. So let me know what you think about this one. The engine is this. It is the LR Thompson L1, designed of course by Edward Thompson, who many enthusiasts in certain circles don't really like, partly because he messed about with and changed some of Sir Nigel Gresly's legendary designs after he took over from him as Chief Mechanical Engineer. So possibly some of the hate towards this locomotive stems from people's prejudice against Thompson himself, but there were certainly some issues with the L1. The prototype itself was pretty good, the performance was solid, and it certainly had no shortage of power. But for a locomotive intended to undertake passenger work, the driving wheels were incredibly small, which meant that the locos either had to run slowly, which would be unacceptable for an express passenger locomotive, or the driving wheels would have to spin extremely quickly in order to achieve the same speed as locomotives with larger wheels. So when the rest of the class was built following the prototype, they earned a bad reputation for their extremely rough rides, with them sometimes being called concrete mixers, and there were also complaints of them shaking themselves to bits. There were also claims that their axle boxes were prone to overheating. They were tried on coal trains instead of passenger trains, but they didn't have the braking capacity for that, so this was a bit of a flop as well. So that is my case for the Thompson L1 being a failure. But please do let me know what you think about this. Do you think the design was sound and that reports of this being a failure were greatly exaggerated? Or do you think, yeah, this loco was flawed? Do let me know what you think. But for now, we're going to move away from the LNER to the LMS, with a locomotive that was also designed by a legendary chief mechanical engineer, William Stanier, who was known for his flawless locomotive designs. This one though had a few issues. So it is this. It is known as the LMS Turbomotive. And to be fair to this engine, it was intended as an experiment, and it was built to the design of William Stanier in 1935. Instead of running on traditional steam cylinders, Turbomotive ran on a steam turbine, which was supposed to increase efficiency. And in some ways, Turbomotive worked really well. It didn't gobble up too much fuel, and because of the smooth running turbines, it produced no hammer blow, which massively reduced wear on the track. The design did have limitations though. While they were perfectly powerful in the forwards direction, it was extremely weak in reverse due to having a separate and much smaller turbine for reverse work. This meant that the locomotive could never haul a train tender first, and always had to be facing forwards. And perhaps this is what prevented this design from catching on in a big way. This of course wouldn't have been an issue for express passenger work, but how would a turbine-driven locomotive have fared, let's say, on a branch line where there was no reverse loop or turntable? Yeah, that would have been a bit of a head-scratcher, wouldn't it? Anyway, in 1949, disaster struck, and one of the turbines failed. And because the turbine technology hadn't been widely adopted, it was deemed massively expensive to repair the loco, and instead she was just rebuilt into a traditional steam locomotive with cylinders. And that's a real shame, because I reckon with more development, turbine technology really could have become more widely adopted and successful. But the thing was, cylinder technology was just so ubiquitous. Everybody used it. Maybe there just wasn't room for a new technology like this. Also, the steam era was kind of coming to an end by this point. Maybe there just wasn't room for new ideas like this. But either way, the Turbomotive, a very, very cool locomotive, but not an experiment that was particularly successful. Okay, the next locomotive was also created by another legendary designer, this time Sir Nigel Gresly. I promise I'm not trying to tarnish the names of these fantastic engineers, but a lot of the very best ones did seem to have their fair share of lemons. So today's loco from Gresly is this. It is the Gresle LR Hush Hush. And yeah, this was another experimental locomotive, so Gresly wasn't trying to guarantee that this would be a success. But either way, this very unusual looking loco was built in 1929, and what was unusual about it was that it featured an extremely high pressure boiler at 450 psi. That's much higher than Gresly's A3, let's say, which ran at 220 psi. incredibly high pressure. Unfortunately for Gresle though, steaming on the Hush Hush was found to be pretty poor during testing. This was quite normal for a prototype, so modifications were made to the exhaust with the hopes of improving things, but this failed. The Hush Hush could never outperform a traditional firebox boiler, despite the additional costs of maintaining such a high pressure one. There was also the issue of air leaking into the casing, which even further reduced the efficiency. A few years later, it was decided that nothing could be done for the Hush Hush, and they gave up the idea. The locomotive was rebuilt with a conventional boiler, a modified A4 boiler in fact, and the new Hush Hush came out looking a lot more like an A4 than it used to. The Hush Hush was unique, and there was never more than just the one example built, which I suppose is the biggest telltale sign that a design has not been a success. But that's a pity though. If this kind of boiler had taken on just like the other technologies, then perhaps we'd have seen more locomotives with this extremely oddly shaped boiler. Would you have liked that or not? It's certainly pretty unconventional, isn't it? Okay, the next locomotive was not intended as an experiment. In fact, on paper, it should have been a resounding success, but it just was not. The engine is this. It is the BR Standard Class 8, which, like the Turbomotive and the Hush Hush, was also a unique engine, only one of these built. Now, the BR Standards were well known for being hugely successful and efficient, with staples such as the Standard Class 2, the Standard Class 5, and of course the legendary Standard Class 9F, all considered to be ultimate steam locomotive designs. Literally all of the BR Standard locomotives were considered successful, except for this one, Duke of Gloucester. She was built in 1954 and she was intended to replace a Princess locomotive, Princess Anne, which was sadly destroyed in the Harrow and Wealdstone rail crash. The Class 8 looked just like a Britannia class, which was also successful, but unlike the Britannia, the Class 8 experienced poor steaming, which caused a real headache for crews. It was also inefficient, consuming much more fuel than it should, and during testing, crews really struggled to stick to timetables due to the poor drafting. And it turns out that there was all sorts of different problems with Duke of Gloucester. Some of them were only discovered during her later restoration. It turns out the drawings hadn't been followed, the wrong components were used in some areas, and in other areas components used were just inadequate for the job. The engine had a shockingly short service life of just 8 years, after which she was withdrawn and left for scrap. Fortunately though, she was rescued and restored, and during her time in preservation she was modified and improved so that she finally became the excellent and efficient locomotive that she was designed to be. But she never achieved this status during her service life, which is why I've decided to include the Class 8 in this video. So what do you think about this one? Do we consider this a failure, even though it was later on improved? I think so, because as designed, this thing was a bit of a mess. So there you go, a BR Standard, the only one considered a failure. Okay, next up then, we're going to finish off with a diesel locomotive, because they have all been steam so far, but diesels were not infallible either, as demonstrated by this. The Class 17, also known as the Claytons. And this thing in model form has always been a complete nuisance for me. I don't think it's been very well designed, it's not brilliantly built, it doesn't run very well, I've always found it extremely underpowered. Well, perhaps Helgen got this right after all, because the real thing was even more of a flop. The Class 17 was introduced in 1962, and it was a follow-up to the very successful Class 20, except this would have a cab in the centre rather than at one end to improve visibility. Like some of the other locos in this video, the Clayton was a bit of an experiment. The central cab was pretty unusual, and it meant that they had to use two smaller engines, one either side of the cab, as opposed to one larger and more powerful one, as was the norm. And here is where the problem started. This strange design with two engines was all done in the name of having a central cab for improved visibility. But ultimately it was found that visibility was still poor because of the long bonnets, so the main advantage of this design was found not to be an advantage at all and was a flop from the outset. But on they went with the 2 engines instead of 1, which of course caused highly inflated maintenance costs, which was far from ideal. Even worse though, the 2 Paxman engines were unreliable and they suffered from all sorts of irritating technical problems, which knocked their availability down to 60%, which is so embarrassing, 60% uptime. And attempts to fix these issues also failed, although some were tried with different engines which were a little better. Many consider the Class 17 to be British Railway's least successful diesel design. And while a healthy 117 were built, withdrawal begun as early as 1968, which means that some of these Class 17s were in service for an even shorter time than Duke of Gloucester was. How embarrassing is that? So yeah, the Class 17 sounds like a complete nightmare in real life, and this model of mine from Helgen has been a similar nightmare as well, so I have to admit I have no fondness at all for this class. So there you have it, yet another failed locomotive design. But there you have it, 7 locomotives that I consider to be a failure. What do you think about these? Do you think any of these are here unfairly? Do you think that some of these perhaps deserve a pass? Also, were there any other failed British locomotive designs that I didn't include in this video? If so, please do comment down below. For now though, I'll say thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you again very, very soon for another video. Alright, cheers folks, you take care.